Morning guys, we are going over to see a little puppy this morning. I have got a new project. Sheba that you would have seen in some of my other YouTube videos, the German Shepherd. She is the second German Shepherd I have trained for one of my clients. So I've been involved with their dogs for the last 15 years. They are getting a new puppy today, 8-week-old German Shepherd puppy, a female, called Cleo, and the clients have asked me to attend today just to help with the introduction, just to be there really to settle her in, to talk them through the best way to integrate both Sheba and the puppy together, to settle the puppy in the house, talk them through the basics to get them through the first night. So I thought I'd bring you on that journey with me today. So off we go. You both go great. Come out, you Wally. Come out. We are going to pop the crate outside because we'll have a first meeting with Sheba and Cleo. Cleo in the crate, just to be on the safe side, because obviously Cleo's coming onto Sheba's territory. So we'll pop it down here in the shade. So this is all going to be dependent on how the puppy is really, how confident it is. If she's quite bold, then she'll cope with this absolutely fine. If she's a little bit nervy, then we'll let her have a sniff around first, and then we'll pop her in here. As far as I'm aware, she's done a little bit of crate training, but obviously we've got lots of crate conditioning to do. But for now, this is just a really safe setup because we want a little bit of a barrier between a fully grown female adult German Shepherd and a tiny little puppy for the very first time that they meet. So we'll leave this here and then wait for her to arrive. She's already been familiarised with this because it's been in the house and it's been set up in the utility area for a little while now. We want to make sure that she's comfortable, that there aren't too many changes happening all at once, so we'll just let her see that we've done this and moved it outside. Probably give her a fair bit of freedom today, but if she struggles, the best thing to do actually is to use a few familiar commands. You know, not just letting it happen, actually being there and offering the resident dog some support so that they feel comfortable. The worst thing you can do in a situation like this is actually be too emotional with it. So they like a rule, they like to know what's going on, they like a boundary. It's not useful just to live in this fluffy world with dogs. They are trying to navigate our worlds, which can be really difficult at times. So to actually just say to them, this is how it is, this is what I need you to do, really does bring some confidence and comfort and helps them trust you as well. So she'll be getting a fair bit of that today. We'll be taking no nonsense approach as well. It's not for her to be telling the puppy off for any reason. There's lots of people that think that's okay and that adult dogs should be doing that, putting the new puppy in its place. You know, there's a line with that. You can actually traumatise a puppy if you allow an adult dog just to go ahead and do that. So there's lots of factors to consider. You know, there isn't just one way, and having a really open-minded approach, watching their communication is what we're going to be doing today. You all good, Sheebs, or are you asleep? You sleeping? Puppy's just arrived in the car, so we'll leave Sheba in here for a second with the boys and we'll go and say hi. Now she's been in the garden, in the house, she had a little tour of both on her own. We're going to get Sheba out and then we're going to arrange for these guys to meet. So come on then, Sheba. Very good. another German Shepherd. So Sheba's doing quite a lot of avoidance behaviour and the puppy's being quite bold, so we'll let her out, but I'm just going to watch this interaction and step in if I need to. I'll just send Sheba away if there looks like there might be a problem, but she's quite amenable, so we should be fine. And I normally try and teach them quite quick how to come through the door, so they work with you, so the bashing and stuff doesn't work. If they can you just get that second of quiet, let them out quite quickly, so that it's a whole story. You're not just looking at that's a nice place to be, because as soon as you shut the door, it's not nice anymore. So even though they're really tiny, understanding quite quickly how they exit the crate is quite important for them to be able to tolerate it in the first place. If I just I'll show that palm of my hand anyway, just shut the crate door. So you want to try and make the crate seamless, really. The different environments that you can put it in where you're just there and you're present. So you never want to go cold turkey and just put them in and walk away. You always want to just take that bit of time where you're there and you're sitting there the other side of the crate, and they can just come out eventually and go back in if they want to, so it's fluid. But she seems to be quite happy in it, don't you? So Jen's just got some questions while Cleo's just sleeping. We're just going to go through some concerns that she might have, just make sure that she's happy, she knows what she's doing. We'll crack on and do that.
So the first one, the breeder mentioned that you should get the puppy used to having her teeth brushed. I've never done that with Sheba.
So I haven't, and I'll be totally honest, I haven't done it as a regular thing to actually clean their teeth. However, it is a really good thing to do to get the dog used to gentle handling. One of the most important things you can do with a puppy is get them used to early on just actually having their faces handled, having their mouths open, because obviously if you take them to the vet, they're going to get that done. A lot of the toothpaste now are really nice tasting, they're really palatable, so dogs really enjoy it. Their deciduous teeth, which are their baby teeth, are not around forever either. When your adult teeth are going to come through, and by that point you want the dog really comfortable with your handling. My dogs have been raw fed and are used to bones. Obviously bones you need to be quite careful of in brand new puppies. The deciduous teeth are quite soft as well, so you can damage them, but that is something that you can consider for the adult teeth later on. Raw bones are brilliant for keeping plaque and tartar at bay, so that's how I clean my dog's teeth.
Somebody told me that you shouldn't give them lamb bones or roasted bones.
Yes.
Is it always raw?
Always raw, and frozen is fine. Anything cooked has the potential to splinter. That's quite serious. Chicken bones, any fine bones, things like that could also be causing a problem. So if you are going to give anything bone-wise, you want to monitor the time that the dog has with them. The dog's gut isn't really used to it. You can also have diarrhea, constipation would be common. It does tend to bind them up quite well. But in moderation, and used to clean the dog's teeth, get them through teething episodes. A cold bone is actually a really good place to start, as is something like a frozen carrot or a frozen Kong. So anything cold is going to help the teething as a puppy develops.
There was a mention of doggy peanut butter.
Yep.
And you can freeze that in a Kong and plain yogurt. I'm sort of conscious of not doing it too soon when she's just arrived.
Getting her used to the Kong just on its own, first of all, and you can smear something like even a little bit of soft cheese around the inside. Anything new you're going to introduce to your dog, you want to do so in a tiny amount first. Give it a few hours, see what happens, or even the following day. You can use peanut butter. The problem with peanut butter and why people are wary of human peanut butter is sometimes they've switched the raw cane sugar out for xylitol, which is a really dangerous sweetener that can actually kill dogs. So doggy peanut butter has been designed, and great marketing has been designed so that you avoid that, but you can give normal peanut butter as long as you check on the label that it's just peanuts. Raw cane sugar, and again just make sure that you've given a tiny little bit on your finger first, make sure A, the dog likes it, and B, their gut is going to cope with it. Your other option is to use her own food, so that's usually a good start point, is just to, after her main meal, just put a little bit of her own food just inside. She's going to be fed wet food, so it should be fairly easy for her to lick that out. Dry food, they can get really frustrated if there's treats or bits of dry biscuits in the Kong that they can't get out, so just be aware of frustration. It always wants to be something that they can actually be successful over getting.
My first night tonight.
Yep.
I've always been keen that you sleep downstairs with them. The crate's in the utility room. I don't really want to sleep in the utility room, but I want to do the right thing. So where should I move the crate? Into the living room where the sofa is, and I'll sleep on the sofa.
Yeah. So I think just being sensible with all of this advice is the most important thing of what works for you. For some people, it's just not an option to sleep downstairs on the sofa, and in that case, I would recommend that the crate goes upstairs and it's put by your bed. So, that's not a complete no, don't take the dog upstairs, but if you are going to, you need to be aware that that's for a short period of time, just while the puppy gets established, used to the crate and used to your home. What would be best practice for me would be we've taken the whole day today to get her used to a crate and sleeping in a crate, so that's going to be quite a familiar environment by tonight, having her in the crate when you're leaving the room and coming back in the room so she gets used to it. And then I would say 3 nights whereby you are in the vicinity of, so yeah, pull the crate out of the utility room and have it next to you on the sofa if you're going to do it downstairs. To be honest, if you've done your crate conditioning really well and the puppy's used to the crate in the day as well as kind of the early evening, then by night 3 you should be back in your own bed, particularly if you've got Sheba as well, so she has got the presence of another dog. So done really well, it should be quite a quick process. So worst case scenario, 2-3 nights on the sofa or next to you upstairs.
And I'm conscious the breeders have their own way of doing things, so the breeder for Cleo has said she would set her alarm at 2:30 and take the pup out for a wee at that time, but you risk her not settling when she comes back in. So have half of the crate with newspaper and half of it with vet bed in case she wees in there.
So setting a routine that works around your lifestyle is really important. What's on the clock is irrelevant, so what the time of day is and time of night is by the clock for the dog isn't relevant. What is relevant is the associated behaviours around your activities and the dog activity. So I would always get into the habit of the puppy goes to bed at least half an hour, 45 minutes before you're going to retire. So I like to create what I call transition periods where the dog has a chance to adapt to the sudden change in environment without you being completely gone and them having no support. So effectively, if you're going to go to bed at 10 o'clock, about 9:30, I would be putting the puppy out for a wee first and then settling in its crate, just having a presence but not talking to the puppy at all. That's their bedtime. I stay up quite late and I always do a late wee around about midnight where I have nothing to do with the puppy at all. So the puppy would come out of the crate, they just get an opportunity to pee, poo, whatever they need to do. Puppy would go back in the crate. Again, I'd take 10-15 minutes just hanging around to make sure the puppy's settled, and we're talking now about having done the initial conditioning period. And then I normally try and intercept that early morning wee and come down at 5. So we've got that kind of 5-hour period. Your puppy won't have bladder and colon control and awareness until between 12 and 14 weeks anyway. You're just developing a habit whereby the puppy gets used to certain activities and having the opportunity to go outside. So that's what I do for the first kind of week. You'll find really quickly a lot of puppies, and particularly shepherds and the same with labs, they're very clean puppies, they get it really quickly. So you'll probably find that it won't take very long for her to start actually going through the night quite quickly, and you can long that out. So I think it depends on how resilient you are, how much sleep you need. Worst case scenario, she's going to pee on the newspaper. As long as she's got the opportunity to pee away from where she's sleeping, which you create, you're going to get the odd accident, and that's perfectly normal.
Should she be washed?
Looking at her, she's come from a really good breeder. I think who you've got her from and who somebody else might have picked their dog up from, that would be 2 different considerations. She's covered in fleas and smelling and her own urine. I think you have to address that as a welfare concern really quickly. I think with a brand new puppy, well looked after, beautiful fluffy coat, I think traumatising her early on at this stage by washing her in shampoos, it's something you can consider once she's a bit settled, but no, I wouldn't at this stage.
Do you think it's a good idea to always make them wee in the same place so that they go to that place as soon as you take them out in the morning? Or
it's a question I'm asked quite a lot. You can buy certain products that help attract the dog to a certain area, pheromone-based products that help them, if you're very specific about where you want them, you create a visual awareness. It might look different, it might be pebbles as opposed to grass. Some people like their gardens, they don't want dog pee everywhere. But I do think it places quite a lot of pressure on the owner to not only teach the dog to go outside, but to go to a specific place all the time, when actually you need to be quite vigilant about getting them out and going there every single time, where you maybe want the puppy just learning you go outside to start with. So I think that's personal choice. It's absolutely doable, and you would need to take her to that area and reward and reinforce each time. So if you want them to wee, the best thing to do is just wander around and be disinterested. So just let them think about something else, and then you're ready then to jump on and reward when you need to, but you're not acting as a distraction. So pretty much most of the time from asleep, they'll wake up and want to do a wee. So if you kind of catch the key moments after food, as soon as they wake up, after any period of play or activity, and then every kind of hour to 2 hours, if you're kind of on it with taking them out during those periods of time, then you should find that you're able to reward and reinforce correctly each time.
And I remember seeing on one of your videos that it's good to say the same word every time you want them to go for a wee.
100%. Having a command is really important when you're going to be going out and leaving them, because they don't know you're leaving them. So having the opportunity to take them out and give that one command. Remember not to put too much onus on your voice when she first arrives. So dogs are body language and scent communicators. So your voice can actually act as quite a distraction for the dog, and it's going to take her a little while to pick up words. And you want her to come out and just focus on the fact she's peeing. So I tend to say, if you're bringing a word in, let her finish. As she finishes, deliver your treat and your praise and say the word then. You can then evolve that so that you start chatting, come on, wee wees, later on from the back door, but while she's learning, keep it really simple and don't distract her. Always a platform for just some really short-term adaptive stress, because that's how they're going to learn. If you don't put any pressure on at all, you can't ask anything of them. The important thing is that you have a short period of adaptive stress and then they recover from that, so it's successful. What you never want to happen is where stress becomes chronic, where the dog is screaming and screaming and screaming for hours. So you listen to what's going on. If it's intermittent and they're correcting, there's a bit of whining and it settles down, then you can leave them alone. If it's persistent and they're getting really upset or it's really increasing, then just having a presence will just bring that back down again and help her adjust. If you go in and get her out every time, or you talk to her, touch her, then she's going to learn that that's how she gets attention. So it's not a nice thing to have to do. So dogs learning solitary time is problematic for dogs. They're social animals, so they don't want to be on their own, but if they're going to cope with living in a domestic environment with human beings, it is something they need to learn. And the sooner you can teach them that effectively, the better they'll cope later on in life and the more tolerant they'll be. So just a quick note on water bowls in crates. What we don't ever want to do is leave a dog in a crate, particularly a puppy, for hours on end with no water, but likewise we need to be careful from a safety perspective that there's only a small amount of water in the bowl so that we don't have any drowning episodes, which would be a freak accident, but obviously we have to plan for all eventualities. So you might have been told to take water out overnight. That's way too long to leave any animal, particularly a puppy, with no water, so always just keep a little bit in the bowl. Or I know that you can also get little water feeders. There are bowls now that you can fill with water and the dog learns to push their nose into them, and that actually releases some of the water so they can lap it up. So there are other options if you were still quite worried. So, but it is really important that you have water in the crate. So we're just attaching a really small little soft puppy collar, just so she's going to get used to wearing it really early on. She's quite a resilient little thing, so we've been able to do a fair bit today. She's obviously had a decent sleep as well. But these things just kind of need to happen without too much drama, and loads of positive reward stuff as well. So I do lots of treat work up until about 12, 14 weeks of age. Alongside that, they'll be learning lots of boundary stuff, they'll be learning independence, they'll be being sent to their bed, doing some crate conditioning. So I'm fun and I've got treats and we play and we do training and it's all great, but there's also lots of downtime, and I'll be busy working on my relationship with the puppy as well. So it's not just all focused on food, but to develop your relationship with food is a great place to start. So we do lots and lots of treat work for those early weeks. Sit. Nice. Oh, it's so much fun here, isn't it? Sit. Beautiful. Sit. Good. Yeah, she's got it. She's got it. For the most part, you can roughly go on 10 to 15 repetitions. It's starting to really embed a new behaviour. The key components are the dog figures out what you want them to do and stay really quiet with your verbal cues until the dog does exactly the behaviour you're looking for, and then add the verbal cue and your treat at the same time. Don't rush the process whereby you're asking for the behaviour too many times too quickly. So give the dog lots and lots of room to really understand what you want before you're using your verbal cues. But she's done well, she's picking it up already. And so we'll just attach the lead, but it's really important that you don't just attach the lead and expect the dog to just cope with it on while you pick up the other end. And then she needs to know she can still move with it on. Come on in. What's this? Yeah, very good. Let's go. Let's go. Yeah, really good. Yeah, so just a bit of distraction stuff in the reality. What you don't want is them picking it up and carrying it around and chewing it and stuff. So, but just get her used to wearing it with no pressure on the end of it at all. So your lead manners will be quite important with a dog as big as she's going to be. So we always do first meal in a new house, no pressure whatsoever. We will eventually and quite quickly be putting in place a feeding regime. Food is your most valuable training tool, so we want to make sure we add lots of value to that. Make sure the dog gets to be successful as well, so that they achieve something in their lives. So 3-4 times a day, you've got the opportunity to really put some time into their training. But right now, when everything is so new, we'll just make food easy. The breeder has been feeding raw food. I like to feed raw. It's not for everybody. The owner's going to carry on feeding raw, certainly for the short term, and then maybe phase on to a cooked wet diet later on, as that might suit her lifestyle better. But sometimes puppies do get upset tummies when they move from one environment to another. It's a big change for them, so you don't want to be making any changes to the diet at the same time, because then you won't know what's caused the upset tummy, whether it's the environment or whether it's the food. So we try and keep everything the same for at least the first week or so. So Jen's actually had a lot of support from the breeder, which has been amazing. This puppy has been completely, really well set up. She's beautiful, she's been handled, she's well socialised. Jenny knows exactly what's gone on in the first 8 weeks of her life. You know, we're in a privileged position that we can just take over from that. Not every puppy gets that early learning, so you need to be mindful of potentially taking things slower, watching for a puppy that's nervous. We've done quite a lot with her today with regular breaks. Not all puppies will be able to cope with that. Fundamentally, if you are collecting your puppy from a breeder, you do want to find out whether the puppy's been already taken away from the mother, whether they were first or last to leave from the litter, what kind of interaction the puppy's already had with other dogs. So all these things are quite important for you to understand, to know what gaps you've got to fill in their social learning. You have between 3 days and 12 weeks to hit that critical learning period. So during that time, you really want to be exposing your puppy to as many things within your lifestyle as you can. After that period of time, they're going to hit their first fear phase and start to be a lot more cautious. So anything they haven't met is going to be a big impact. So just bear that in mind. So that went really well. Jenny's got herself a really lovely, well socialised puppy, really confident but not overly so, not particularly boisterous. Because of Sheba's age, we're probably going to need to keep a little bit of an eye on how tolerant she is. She's an older dog now, so she's not necessarily going to be tolerant of a puppy jumping all over her. So I've said to Jenny just to be a bit careful. We've left the puppy sleeping soundly in the crate, which is great. So we've already done a bulk of the conditioning to the crate for the rest of the day, which is good. We're going to try and follow Jenny's journey. Puppies learn really fast, so we've managed to do quite a lot of the introductory stuff. But hopefully we'll be able to bring you a few updates over the coming months. So as usual, guys, thanks for watching. If you like the videos, keep an eye out. Please do like and subscribe so we can let you know if we bring you any more. And we really hope that you found today valuable. And any questions, feel free to post. Take care, bye.